Get to know all your favorite VRChat DJs all in one place. This is VRCDJLIVE.
Well, welcome everybody to another great episode here of VRCDJLIVE, and it's a very special episode, and I want to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving Day. Hopefully you get a lot of turkey, hopefully you got some good cranberry sauce, mashed potatoes, all that sort of junk. But of course, here on VRCDJLIVE, we're talking with DJs, from the DJs, and everything in between dancers, clubs, promoters, producers, owners, you name it. And we're doing it all live right here on twitch.tv/VRCDJLive. Of course, everyone watching the replay later on YouTube, welcome on in. My name is Rob Roman, and we have a very special group of people with us today. They are a group that features everything from techno to bass, house, breakbeat, hardcore, hardstyle, you name it. It's a big old gambit, featuring venues such as Hardbox and the Server Room, powered by bass, driven by emotion. I want to please welcome DJ and co-owner of Subsystem, Merlz, as well as graphic designer for VRChat and owner of Subsystem and Subsystem admin, both here, Sai and Marco. Please welcome these guys here to VRCDJLIVE. Good to have you guys.
Hi, good to be here.
Yeah,
hello.
I know it was kind of a last minute decision, and it was a bad portion on my part because, again, here in America, it's like we have Thanksgiving, and I was just looking at the calendar being like, oh, we probably should be thinking a little bit more about the holidays, especially like I was ramping up to December time and Christmas, and the fact that we do have a guest on the day after Christmas, and I was like, I hope that's okay with you, and they were like, yeah, that's pretty okay, and I'm just like, oh, man, again, people are going to be eating, people are going to be sleeping in front of like the football and all that other junk that they would have normally done. But glad to have you guys with us today. And one of the fun things, before we even get in here, I want to address the chat and say welcome in on into the show. It's a live show. We're live. We're sitting here live. We're answering your questions today. And if you have any questions concerning any of the topics that we're talking about, as well as some other taboo and hot topics we got going on during the show today, please feel free to drop them in the chat, and we will get to them as we roll right along. And one of the things that when we got these guys in here to get the show started was you guys seem like a ragtag team of friends, and I'm very interested to see where did all this friendship kind of come from? Where did you guys find each other besides just like, oh, I love music?
You want to take it? You want me to start, Merlz?
Yeah,
I can go over it. Well, I can speak for myself here. I met Merlz, thankfully, based on our venues actually. Someone brought Merlz in. And that's how I met Merlz for the first time. I was immediately blown away by his insane talent when it comes to A&R and scouting DJs. And that's how I met Merlz. And then Marco as well was introduced to the team, was referred, and then I met him as they became part of the team.
And then you guys were roommates. And they were roommates.
Virtual roommates. It's crazy.
Does that story hold up, Merlz, or could be anything more to that?
No, that is on point. I joined the group. For me personally, it was just kind of wild because I only just started DJing, and I asked a friend like, how do I get to like are there more hardstyle venues? Because that's something that I really like. I really like hardstyle. I grew up listening to it, and so I have a knack for spinning it. I asked 33 Styles, shout out, and she told me about Hardbox. And so I searched for the server, and suddenly at some point I managed to find the Subsystem Discord, started talking to the people there, and then things just kind of got rolling. At some point I managed to snag a slot to play for Hardbox. At the same time they made an announcement post about, hey, do y'all wanna we kind of need somebody doing artist relation, and then there were some other things in there like photography. Shout out Rose on that part. We both started the same day, and I just messaged one of the owners and I was like, hey, so you are looking for somebody to do artist relation. So I've never really done this with that title or anything, but I'd be down to give it a shot, and we can see if that works out for me and you and whatnot. So I hopped in there, and it just kind of clicked. Here I am. I don't know. and that must have been somewhere around at the end of 2022. So we both have. I should probably mention we all joined at very different times. Sai is one of the founders of Subsystem. I joined somewhere, say at the end of 2022, which was, I'm not sure how far this was in, like a year into Subsystem.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and then Marco, I just kind of dragged him on in 2023, but I think that's a story he can tell.
Yeah. I kind of just got I think I just attended server room, and I was just looking at the lights, and I asked Merlz, like, how does that work? How do you even control them? And then like about a week later I got a DM on Discord going, yeah, do you want to learn? So I just said yeah, and I got dragged in like 30 minutes after that.
And then
That's how we get you.
yeah, that's basically how it was kind of rolling on in. But
it was really funny actually. Like it was like I was supposed to onboard somebody else. I'm not sure, like they didn't have a lot of time, so they didn't really make that date. But before they were supposed to hop on, I also asked Marco, because I remember he was interested. I was like, hey, so you remember how you said you were interested in knowing how this whole light thing works? Yeah. Are you free in like 30 minutes? All right, cool. Just hop by.
I remember you. I remember you bringing up Marco like a bunch of times as well, because obviously, like as the management, we talk about, oh, we need a bunch more people like to help out with the lights, or we need a bunch more people to help with hosting because we don't want to stretch everyone like super thin, obviously. And I remember you bringing up Marco a few times, and then we were like, you know what, actually might be a good idea. Let's give it a shot. And then now here he is, terrorizing us every day.
It's kind of funny how like you lend your services or you start gaining some interest into something, and then it's either you're like, oh, this is really exciting, I'm doing a lot of it, or I hope this isn't a huge mistake because now they're asking me to do everything. But I mean, Marco, do you tend to try to do everything? Do you want to do everything? What's going on?
Not really. I'm just here doing lights. I mean, to be fair, before a few weeks ago, I think I've done lights at like basically every single event since March.
Checks out.
But I don't try to do absolutely everything because I just can't.
But it's always very good to be able to just lend your services and be excited about it. You know, obviously, we're always looking for some sort of either VJ or lights or even more staff. I think a lot of other clubs really enjoy a lot of staffs and very excited people that want to be a part of, you know, whatever you got going on. Of course, we're going to be leading into a lot about Subsystem and kind of get a breakdown of your club and the things that you do. And all between the three of you, you guys have some massive talent. So obviously, kudos to you and your club too. Subsystem has always been on my radar as being a really not so aggressive club, but like a club that just offers some really awesome events and a lot of very for me, it draws my attention just because it just looks so awesome, and it's nice to have everybody involved in your groups. But I kind of want to start today's show with Merlz, actually. Kind of didn't want to jump the gun. We were just talking about Marco, but Merlz, obviously we're all very interested in how much you come onto the scene and you love to DJ, and I feel like a lot of people, a lot of your fans in chat right now want to get to know a little bit more about you, man, and wanted to kind of see how did you even get into VRChat? What kind of inspired you or motivated you to, or how did you even learn about VRChat?
Yeah, shout out to the two fans in my chat. I think I told this story like a couple of times now. It's I'm gonna try to keep it short, because okay, how do I start? Basically, I got into VR through a couple friends back in the days, and at first I was only like playing Beat Saber, but then I introduced another friend to VR about like, and I told them about like, oh, Beat Saber is so fun, and they got some multiplayer games, and we played some cooking games and whatnot. And at some point, they started spending like a considerable amount of time in VR, like a concerning amount. And at some point, I asked if they were okay. And then she was like, oh yeah, no, so I discovered VRChat and it's really fun. It's a bit weird, but like you'll see. And so I told her like, okay, introduce me to it. And she was like, oh, it's a bit weird. I'm like, yeah, but I'm weird. She was like, yeah, fair. And so she introduced me to to somebody within the VR chat who was into electronic music, and she was like, "Oh, you're gonna like this guy. You can yap for a bit." And yapping we did. We yapped for like 3 hours, and he showed me some videos inside a friend's lobby of Club Orion, just like a couple of videos on the screen, or like staring at it and talking. And then he's like, "Yo, come over. You should listen to. You should come by next week. There's a big party going on. It's called Sanctum. They're gonna have like some big DJs on there." And lo and behold, a week later, I hop on, and he shows me the world, and I'm standing in front of these like big gates, and I see a big flyer where it says "Must be to be Justin Hawks." I'm like, Justin Hawks? No way! That is actually one of the artists that I really like. No way! I'm gonna see a 2-hour live set of that guy now. Turns out I did. That was a really cool Saturday night, and from there it was just a big downward spiral. I slowly got into the VRChat rave scene by like making connections within VRChat, just friending people, and then they dragged me into places. One of the first DJs I ever got to see was 10XX, and then I saw his VRChat live sets on the regular. And then I slowly just made friends, found more places, and at some point I realized, hey, you know how to DJ. You started DJing like 10 years ago, even though it's damn infrequent. I certainly DJ'd at least like 5 times as much in VRChat than I've done any time before. But basically, I dusted off my super old controller that had more broken buttons than features at this point. And I plugged it in, started a live stream, and I just my first ever public Club Orion set suddenly had a bunch of people in there, and I was totally blown away. And by then I was completely lost. I just got into more and more clubs, and that's how we got to that part from earlier. How at some point I was like, hey, so where can I spin some hardstyle? And that's how I met the people over at Subsystem. And I was actually totally blown away because like the first event I've ever been to wasn't Hardbox, it was Server Room, and I saw that they had like DMX lighting going on, and I've not seen a single club do this before, and I've always had a knack for that stuff. So I was like, hey, okay, this place is cool. This is the coolest place I know. Oh my god! And then I joined the Discord, and no, I wasn't in the Discord, but like I was blown away. Started attending all the places, and well, here I am, just DJing a whole lot. Joined the team at some point. I don't know.
You know, I mean, that's quite the success story, no doubt. And I know we were kind of earlier talking about how you were asking me questions and how I was considering calling it the boom of 2022. For us older people who've been in here a little bit before the whole rave scene started to explode. For me, it's so interesting to understand for people that do come in 2022 to see where that starting point is compared to how it was a couple years ago without as much rave stuff going on. Was it kind of intimidating when you first came in? Did you think that there were a lot of people involved in the DJ scene right away, or was that just something that you came across naturally?
A little bit of both. It came to me naturally, just kind of navigating through the space, making friends, talking to people, and the whole artistic aspect of it, where I involve myself in different ways. But it was also kind of intimidating because at some point I noticed just how big this space was. And there were a bunch of names in the space that I've known from like before I even booted up VRChat, like from Spotify and whatnot. And just overall, like the amount of stuff that was happening, it was just kind of blowing me away. Also, don't mind me. There's an alarm going off on my phone.
It's better than you floating away like normal. I know we were starting like 5 minutes ago. You were floating in space. I was
Don't jinx it.
Yeah,
don't jinx it.
We have a pretzel stream here. Merlz pretzel. So you were also kind of talking a little bit about how much you were DJing and your involvement outside of VRChat, and then you were saying how you were just doing like 5 times the amount of DJing in VRChat. What was the scene for you before VRChat?
That's hard to describe. So basically, I wasn't exactly a DJ primarily, but I knew how to DJ. I got my first DJ controller somewhere at the age of 16 from my first summer job that I worked. And it wasn't exactly the best one, but it was a good entry level one. And I just played for myself a little bit. I played one or the other birthday as well, but primarily I was a producer, a music producer. I was focusing on hardstyle back in the day, and I feel like that's also kind of where I got a bit of a knack from, because before VRChat I also hosted like one or the other event, but not in virtual reality, but like on the internet. I only later found out in the middle of my VRChat journey that those would be called URL events. Didn't know there was a term for it, but basically I would set up a website with a little chat box and an Icecast radio stream, and then a couple of my friends and I would DJ and do some stuff. And then friends and friends of friends would join in and listen, and it would be like 30 to 50 people a night, 9 to 10 hours of just music. And I would do these like once or twice a year for I think like 7 years or whatever. So this whole like I think organizing an artist relation thing kind of already was a thing for me without even noticing. But that's mostly where I got it from. These URL events and then some birthdays and just me trying it out by myself a little bit. But I guess 5 times, considering that is almost like a little bit of an understatement. It's probably much more than that.
And now,
probably like 20 or 30 times more DJing ever since.
And now you're in VR and you've found your tribe, as they would probably say, right?
I sort of did, man. If you ask my parents, I always had a thing for like a fascination for event tech, events, electronic music, raves, and all that stuff. I don't know. Like whenever I would see like a stage build somewhere, you would have little Merlz just like staring at it with like in awe. And I feel like in here I'm just living a bit of a childhood dream, so to say. It's really funny. But yeah.
Did childhood Merlz also look like a honey bear, or is that just something that you just kind of came across?
That's another thing. So okay, so at some point it just happened to me. Like it was in the span of like 2 to 3 weeks where multiple people, I think it was like not even like 1 or 2, but like 4 or 5 different people, all individually from each other, referring to me as a bear. It was a classmate, it was a teacher, and it was a friend, and then there was another friend, and all of them just kind of like, oh, and a colleague at work. Like a coworker, and they all just happened to refer to me as like a bear. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm the bear now. And it just at some point it stuck like as like a silly image. And as when I got here in VRChat, it was just a matter of time until I found some proper berries and put them on. Here they are in all their glory. It's just a funny little image that I have now.
Not only that, but like
an inaccurate one. I absolutely love honey.
And like,
honey's cool.
Not even. I know we even talked off stream before about the fact that when you did go to Shelter or ShelterCon, that you actually genuinely saw people wearing your merch and how excited you were about that.
No, not at ShelterCon. There was nobody wearing my merch. People did recognize me by the hoodie though, but I do have some friends that actually have a Merlz hoodie nowadays. I think there's like 10 or 12 people in the world with a Merlz hoodie now, maybe even more, I don't know, but like that already is a bit wild to me.
Dude, not gonna lie, it looks awesome. Yeah. It looks comfortable. I'd wear one.
It is comfortable. I will say that, but you cannot buy it. You just gotta get it through me, if anything.
Man,
I don't want to be the guy setting up a shop and fucking selling my merch.
Merlz merch. It rolls right off the tongue, right? Yeah, you guys would buy it, right?
I'd definitely buy.
Yeah, I'd buy like 17
yeah,
of
where's
them.
mine? Where's mine?
As soon as I drop another one, you just
plushie.
You wouldn't believe it. There is a Merlz teddy. I actually I got 2. One of them I gave away, and the other one is here. Oh, and actually somebody once stitched me one. It wasn't like
That's
a stitched
awesome.
teddy, but I was like a teddy, and somebody stitched like a little shirt.
I would love that.
As the Merlz logo in the front, and one in the back, and it's adorable.
That's awesome, yeah.
Now I feel like I have something to look forward to in 2025. But absolutely, Merlz, thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm very excited to have you here, and I'm actually really all excited to have you guys here too. And we're gonna kind of turn our attention over to Sai. And I know before we begin with Sai, I know that he has something very important that he wants to state before we start getting going.
Yeah, just a little side note. I wanted to say that I'm here as the individual Sai. I'm not here like talking as an employee of VRChat on behalf of the company in any way. It's all my personal opinions and everything that I do.
You know, I'm kind of interested, and I feel like a lot of people are interested too, but is it kind of hard to be known as a developer, or like do you find a lot of people just feel uncomfortable approaching you because you're a developer?
It's not as bad anymore. Originally, when I joined, I was one of the few public employees. Like, there's obviously people that everybody knows, like Tupper and Co., that are on the videos and so on, that are kind of always at the forefront of everything, tanking things for the rest of the company. And I decided when I joined that I kind of want to help with all of that stuff. So I was one of the people that also publicly put my name out there. But as it kind of kept going, more and more people on the staff team did that, and it kind of became less of a problem to be known as like a VRChat developer, especially back in 2022 when I originally joined. It was like post EAC and everything, so people in public worlds were a little upset at times. Like they would approach me and be like, "Oh, you guys suck. Everything you do is horrible," and so on. But that was kind of given because like I understood they were frustrated with the situation in general, and they weren't frustrated with me. So like it happened. But nowadays it's pretty chill actually. Like people approach me, they're like, "Hey, thanks for all the cool stuff you do," or like, "Hey, I have a question about X, Y, and Z. Could you like help me understand it a little better?" There's also obviously some people that come up and are still like a little bit like I'd say bad actors. Like they try to get a rise out of you or they try to troll you in a little bit, but it's nothing too bad. I'd say like I don't regret being a public employee of the company, and I think it's done more positive than negative.
I know there's a lot of moments in time where, like, even with Tupper, where like it's kind of one of the main missions of doing VRCDJLIVE is the fact that like Tupper and I have had many conversations where like he wants to go and check out some cool new worlds and stuff, but as soon as he spawns in, it seems like 10 or 15 people are surrounding him to either like, "Can I get a picture? Can I hug you? Can I do something? I want to talk to you." So I like VRChat. I don't like VRChat, and just the fact that he just can't even get across, over there. But I mean, I would only assume that Subsystem acts as a really good escape from all of that when you're a part of stuff.
Yeah, that depends. Like, work has been very busy, so like I haven't been super involved with Subsystem to the point that I'd like to be recently. I'd had to take a step back, which I could comfortably do with the current management. Like, I'm very happy with how things are running, even without me. But yeah, I would like to make more use of that escape again, in a way. So
I got to notice a couple of updated pictures on the Subsystem Twitter, and I noticed that you were behind the decks on one of the nights.
I was, yeah. That was really funny. So Merlz messaged me and he was like, he's been trying to get me to play for a while, like because I'm one of the few people that plays Euphoric, hardstyle, and like a little bit more mellow, and like it's not like the super hard hardstyle. It's more like the emotional kind of relaxing kind of stuff that still goes hard in sections, but it's like it's mostly just like you listen to it, you have a good time in the moment. It's like the atmosphere kind of stuff. So Merlz has been trying to get me to play for a while, and the first time he asked me, I had to unfortunately turn down because I hadn't spun hardstyle in such a long time. I really struggled with like digging a crate for it and like getting everything sorted and getting like into the flow of spinning it again. So I was like, "I'm sorry, I think you're gonna have to look for someone else." But then this time around, he was like, "So I have this first opening slot, and we could really need someone that could play some Euphoric." Wink, wink. And I was like, "You know what? Sure, let's do it." So yeah, I did do some spinning again.
You just know this wasn't the last time. I will get you back.
It won't be. Don't worry.
Yeah, we want to see a ton more pictures on Twitter, and I want to be surprised. Actually, I want to be there. I want to be like hanging out and being like, oh, like this is what I get to experience. It kind of also happened too. We were just talking a little bit about Liquidity just moments ago, and I got to see Hentalia perform at Liquidity kind of just off the cuff. And I promise you, after 3 days of being at that festival, I was already exhausted, and he was doing some sort of like Psy trance or some sort of a Psy, like a nice, comfortable, relaxing music, I suppose. And I was falling asleep to his set, and I just had to apologize because I'm just like, dude, you put me in such a trance, and I was like, I feel so bad because I slept through all of it. And he was like, that was the intention. We wanted you to do that.
It can be a good thing, right? Like if the DJ is good and the music just hits right at the moment and you're getting so relaxed, like that can be a good thing.
So that is a positive thing to when you do produce your sets, right? You wish that people would be falling asleep sometimes, or?
Well, I don't think they'd be falling asleep to the stuff because at the end it's still hardstyle. Like I think it's hard to fall asleep to it, but I want people to have like a nice way into the event more in a way. Like it's not going to be like 190 BPM pressuring your brain, like hitting you over and over and over. It's gonna be a nice little thing. I let choruses and stuff play out a little so people get a little breather, things like that. It's just a little way to kind of get you started for what's about to come in a way, I guess.
Now, Sai, we got to have a really long conversation about this, and I know we're also going to be leading into a very popular topic as of yesterday, but I'm interested because as we've known that you are the owner of Subsystem.
Mm-hmm.
And it did date back a couple of years, and you've been in VRChat for a longer time. But kind of take us down the journey of how VRChat was when you first started, compared to when the rave scene really started to pick up to even where we are right now.
Sure. So I started back in December 2017 is when I originally started playing VRChat. That was like right before the big Knuckles kind of boom that happened, where the platform suddenly exploded to like 20,000 average users from its like 100 or whatever it was before. And I joined because I watched a bunch of funny streams back then from a streamer called Pokelols. He had like the whole Team 5 thing going. And I actually started as a stream sniper. Like I tried to snipe him in a public lobby and tried to talk to him and actually managed to do that. And he thought I was funny, so he added me, and I kind of drifted into that whole group of people, which was like my first group of people there, like the whole Team 5 thing with the big streamer craze back in the day. And it was all just memes. Like everybody played a character. Nobody really was just like today you log on, you're just yourself, you're talking to people, it's a social thing. Back then everybody was kind of like always in a character kind of stayed role playing in a way. So everybody had their little quirk or gimmick, and that's kind of just how it all started. And I used to be a mute actually. I didn't talk back then. I used text to speech to communicate. And back then we didn't have all that fancy tech we have now. I wrote like a custom thing with a friend back then that turned speech into words put onto your screen, which I could then copy and paste into a text to speech app, which would then talk. It was so jank. It was a whole thing. So that's kind of how I started out. And then as things progressed, that group kind of fell apart, and it started becoming more and transitioning slowly into like being the social thing for me, where it's just like, oh, I'm just hopping on talking to my friends versus like I'm hopping on to shit post and be a character. So that's how that slowly transitioned. And I was like, well, cool stuff. Been hopping around. I've seen some people play music here and there, but like the club scene wasn't really established at that point. Like it wasn't a thing. Right? So I was hopping around public worlds, and I was like, oh, there's a bunch of people that sometimes play music through their microphone. And I'm like, I can do that, but I have decks. Like I could be DJing through my mic. I think I should try that out. And I started doing that. Back then I hopped around Void clubs. I hopped around when Orion initially came around and stuff. And I would just start a public lobby and just play music through my microphone. Because this was all like before we had like all the crazy streaming tech, before VRCDN was a thing, all those things. And looking back at it, I'm really sorry to all the people that had to listen like back then to all the horrible music I played through my microphone. Like it must have sounded like absolute trash. But they tanked it. People were having a good time. It was like a first for a lot of them, I guess, because nobody really did it back in the day. And then as I did that, I ran into a funny guy called Sopra, who back in the day was part of the Hardbox staff team. So that's the first time I've ever heard about an actual venue back in the day. I was like, oh, this sounds really cool. And Sopra approached me after I was playing in a public lobby, and he was like, you play some really cool music, and you've got like a cool like energy going on. It's been super enjoyable. Why don't you try to come play for us? Like we have an actual setup where you can stream into like the world using this and that. That's the first time I've heard of VRCDN. This is like, we're in 2021 now. So I skipped a little bit, but that's kind of where we're at right now. And I was like, yeah, that sounds super fun actually. Like I've been doing this like that. Why shouldn't I play like at an actual venue in like a lineup? And I did that. And that's when I originally joined Hardbox, which was like Hardbox version 1 back then still. And as I stayed there, I played a few sets. I started helping with actually organizing the whole thing. So like I helped curate the lineups. I helped bring a bit of organization to the whole thing. And I put in some ideas for the map and stuff like that. So I got involved with the team and eventually got invited onto the team as one of the admins. And then Hardbox had like a little moment where the whole thing kind of fell apart, the original one. And then me and the other person back then, the other admin, decided we want to bring it back and relaunch it as a V2. And that's kind of where the subsystem idea came from. We were like, okay, we have this one thing. We're focusing on like hard style, hard dance, those kind of things. But what if we like make another thing that's like for other stuff? Like at that time, it was like house and 128 BPM kind of genres around that range. So we're like, we want like a venue where people can just go to rave and like go, and then a venue where people can actually like dance, because it's like more in the BPM range where you're comfortable dancing and just hanging out and having a good time. And that's kind of where Subsystem started. That was like early 22, I'd say. And then that's kind of where we've been going from since. Like it's been ever evolving. The club scene started to explode back then. Like you called it the boom of 22. And as I started thinking more about it after you mentioned the term, I was like, yeah, it's kind of right. Like before that, I was just playing in public lobbies on my own, and then that kind of whole scene started evolving. And we really kind of wanted to push the envelope with what was possible, because back then it was mostly like VRSL, VRCDN, called it a day, like that's the club. And we kind of wanted to push the envelope. So we were like, what if we actually like get a lighting guy involved? Like what if we actually map all the lights to a texture? Like what if we have someone that actually controls all those things? So we did that, and then obviously the whole VJ thing also started coming up. So we're like, okay, we have someone with Resolume access. Why don't we get that involved as well? So we have someone that has the DJ, gets the audio in, starts doing visuals for it, which then gets over to the lighting guy who does all the lights to it. And then that kind of started evolving, and we were like actually starting work on it. And it was possible, and we just made it happen. And then that's kind of how that all evolved, slowly over time. And yeah, now look at what we got now. Like people are pushing the envelope constantly. Like we're getting cool global illumination in worlds. We're getting people that do crazy stuff with particle shaders and everything. Like stuff gets cooler and cooler and cooler. So yeah, it's been a long journey thinking about it from 2017 all the way up to now. There's been a lot of development in what's possible in the platform and what people are doing, and it's really exciting to see that people are constantly pushing more and more.
I know just everything about what you're saying really hits home for me. I did start back in 2018, in the summer of 2018,
Yep.
and being able to go to full-time work and come home and actually watch Pokelols and Papa Vince and Kimple and all those guys and Drekwiz and stuff.
Oh my
and again,
God.
all those names resonate to me because I'm just like, I was there. I was the one watching too, you know, like, and then that kind of got me engaged in VR as well. But does it ever, I mean, gosh, this is the worst like question to ask, because I know that the answer is going to be like, no, I don't want to hit it. But yeah, but like, how often do you find that nostalgia hits way too much compared to where we are right now?
A lot less lately for me, but there was a period, like I'd say the last 2 years especially, where I often had moments where it was like, wow, I really wish it was like more like it used to be and less like it is now. Especially like thinking about how simple things were back in the day. Like people were more focused on the people around them and less like on the worlds and stuff, right? Like now we have super breathtaking worlds, game stuff, all that kind of crazy stuff. And back then it was really just you hop in the world and there isn't really anything to do in the world. The world just kind of looks pretty. You walk to the mirror, or you pick up random pickups in the world and you just talk to people, or you see some guy with a crazy particle show on his avatar back in the day, back in Gaia Night, those kind of things, right? And really the content was just the people back then. We did all the talking, and we made up things on the spot. We made little bits and role play and things like that. So yeah, I'd say in the last 2 years especially, there was a lot of moments where I was like, damn, I wish it really just was like that. Like, I kind of want that friend group back, things like that. And it's like, I feel like I mostly think about those kind of moments whenever I'm at a personal lower point in my life, because it's like, okay, things aren't going super well for me right now. And then I kind of start thinking, like my brain just goes into this mode of, oh, things used to be so cool back then. That used to be better, and blah, blah, blah. I get a little stuck in a little bit of a negative cycle, I'd say. But then I kind of break out of it, and I'm like, well, but I have cool new friends that all are very awesome, and they do cool stuff too. And, you know, we got our clubs and everything going. So I'd say I get the occasional nostalgia hit, but I'm also very content and happy, especially now with what we've got.
Yeah, you just wake up and you're just like, wait a minute, all the cool lights and effects and an
Yeah.
endless list of DJs and an endless list of even users coming in to enjoy the venues and the events going on. And I know we are going to be talking about it a little bit more, and I think we did have a little bit of a discussion about what we heard in the news yesterday concerning a very important update to VRChat. Did you want to kind of preface that a little bit before we carry on?
Sure. We can talk a little bit about age verification because that's what I think you're referencing to. So yeah, age verification is on the way. We promised some more news at the end of the year, and we got a dev update out there, which goes a little bit into how we're kind of choosing to implement it, why we're making decisions, how the initial rollout kind of works, those kind of things. And I think especially for the music and event industry, that is going to be a very interesting change because it might change the landscape drastically, depending on how people utilize it. So yeah, definitely a lot of stuff going on there.
I know it's a very important topic. I know a lot of people have been making their comments both on YouTube and on Twitter, and I know that's something that we are going to be focusing a lot about once it does become in the alpha and it does get rolled out, and especially for our communities to kind of get a better idea of what type of events we're either looking for compared to what events a lot of the users, the new users coming in from the holidays, will be able to attend, as well as anybody that's looking to get verified and getting more information about verification later on down the road. We're going to kind of roll into that a little bit later on in the program. So for those people that are in the chat right now, again, if you have a ton of questions, if you have, this is the place to talk about it. It's VRCDJLIVE. It's live, and obviously it has a lot to do with our community. So we want to make sure that, we talk about these things, especially if it is breaking news. But before we get back into some more subsystem stuff, and again, I'm very interested in how all you guys roll out. I want to talk to Marco real quick. Actually, Marco got to join in the program just moments, last minute, jumping in, been like, oh, we'll just get Marco. Marco legit showed up, and
I'm not even on the Twitter/Blue Sky post.
Yeah, everybody was like, oh, we'll just get Marco on. Screw it, whatever, why not? Let's do that. But I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about your involvement with the group, a Subsystem. Obviously, you're part of the admin, and just tell us about your role besides doing the lights, and do you do other things like do you do crowd control? I mean, do you go to a lot of the events?
Besides doing the lights, I guess I do sometimes check for very poors. I don't really do proper moderation because that's not really my role at all. I guess I also do sometimes teach people how to do lights because there's 3 LDs in the scene. We need more.
See, that's a good open call to be like, if anybody is interested in helping
Please.
out, want to be more involved with Subsystem, this is the place to be. Yeah.
Save Marco.
Yeah, that should be your promotion, right? Say hashtag save Marco, and that's kind of just roll that out on socials. But you said that your involvement started about a year ago. You kind of came in 2023.
Yeah, about a year ago. It's actually going to be exactly a year since I've been involved in the whole VRChat rave scene in a few days, which is crazy. But yeah, I've been in the Subsystem team since exactly March 24th, I believe. So yeah, it's been a hot minute.
I would not even remember what day I even got into VRChat, but I was sure you wrote it down somewhere. But I kind of want your opinions, and based on when you did roll in around 2023, when there was a lot of involvement with the community and even a lot of involvement in Subsystem as kind of a big entity. Tell me your opinions and your thoughts on the process of how that's going, and kind of where you think either the DJ space is headed or even Subsystem.
Honestly, I genuinely have no clue where it's headed. I'm just being there.
Well, it's not. I mean, I'm not looking for like an
live.
exact, but like in your bunny brain mind, I would want to know where you think it's going to be headed in the new year.
Honestly, I see just a bunch of clubs just improving a lot. At least I hope so. Because of like the amount of cool things that I see on Blue Sky or Twitter of people making some really fancy looking fog, new venues, particle screens, and all of that. So yeah, I really hope that we get to see some cool new venues.
As far as again, we are literally a month away from 2025, which I didn't honestly believe that we were all going to be there at any point in time. But Merl's kind of taking a look at the past 2 years of Subsystem and how it's growing. I kind of want to know what your opinions are based on like how it is continuously growing and the popularity based on that compared to maybe some other clubs that have popularity.
Well, as you mentioned before, there's the boom of 2022 that got pretty got a lot of people in there, and I was a part of that boom that I didn't even realize was a thing back then. But considering it was the time when the Quest 2 launched, which just was an insane deal for the price. Like, obviously, it really raised. Do you say raised the bar? It definitely made VR more accessible, and in return, a lot of people turned to VRChat, and I was one of them. So that was a big boom, and I don't think I've really witnessed anything like that ever since. But there is a continuous stream of new people discovering VRChat, but also their own talents while they're in VRChat, and I think we're on a like good steady stream. Tupper always posts about new CCU records. CCU was what was it? Concurrent
Concurrent users.
Concurrent users.
Concurrent users, yeah. So VRChat is on a steady growth. It's not exploding like it did in 2022, but it's there. It's steady. Even if it was just like staying at the level it was at, we would still have people in here. We would still have people interested, and like it's healthy. I would say it's healthy. It's not going anywhere, and I'm sure we'll see some pretty cool venues, especially considering how there's always new assets and new standards coming our way. So like just considering how far venues have come. And how we're all standing on the shoulders of giants and just using assets from places, or like everyone borrows from each other a little bit. It's gonna be cool. I'm pretty sure it's not going anywhere.
How frequent do you find that people are interested in Subsystem and want to perform? Is it a lot? Is it again a nice steady flow as you've been kind of saying recently?
Yeah, there's I'm definitely not lacking any talent when it comes to getting people on board. Like, it's insane how many good DJs are in here. That being said, I'm having trouble actually getting all of them under the umbrella, like at times. Especially with the way we approach events, we are heavily curated with what we want from our events, and the way an event goes or how we imagine it to go doesn't always match the talent that's in here. So sometimes I'll have a bunch of people that are all really good and they all sort of do a certain thing, and I could get them on for that. And then there's something that we're looking for and we don't have a lot of people performing that specific thing, be it LDs or DJs playing a certain genre. And so it's always a big balancing act on our side. But right now I gotta say we're on a healthy level, especially in terms of DJs. We are not running out. We recently opened up applications. And I've been I've been flooded with applications, and I'm trying to work through them all. And most of the time they aren't even open for that reason, because I got more than enough talent to just like find by hopping through lobbies and scouting actively, which is what I way prefer anyway, to be honest, because it's just kind of. I feel like it's just better when I actively reach out to people and give them that surprise of, oh, hey, by the way, would you be down to play for us? I really want you. Like, it's more of a personal thing rather than working through an application. It's just such a, I don't know, whatever business thing to do. But the reason we opened them up again, at least temporarily for now, is because I also don't want to miss out on people. I don't want it to be entirely dependent on me trying to find talent and maybe overlooking somebody. So right now they're open. If you think you've got what it takes to perform for our venues, please send them in. We want you. Other than that, though, it's like, yeah, no, we're not running out of talents. And in terms of staff, like LDs, VJs, hosts, the only thing I think we right now that could help is if we had another host or two, checking in on people, making sure everyone's okay, doing a bit of security, telling people to switch into a poor better avatar, please. But other than that, we are like, especially after I've been in a higher, more like management position for Subsystem for about a year now. And we've definitely had a harder time about a year ago trying to fill all the roles that were needed. Like one person would do visuals all night, one person will do LDs the lights all night, and we'd be struggling like, oh god, please do it, otherwise we have to like postpone this event or move it or whatever. And nowadays we split shifts. We got 2 or 3 visual artists on each side, so it's like 2 or 3 VJs, 2 or 3 LDs, a host or 2, and things have gotten a lot more chill, and we've gotten into a really good flow. I gotta say we're well off. We've got a lot of talent, and VR has really provided us with a bunch of people here.
I was gonna say I'm very impressed on how much you post on social media and your overall presence, and even the links to even find Subsystem and the different websites. I do encourage a lot of people to go check out all the different links that we have for you, to check out even more if you haven't seen Subsystem events. But how do you find even more opportunity within the people within your community, or people that are interested in having some higher roles within, because obviously you're looking for more staff, and I would assume that you would go more towards the people either in your Discord or immediate people that do come to events. What's the process look about that are kind of interested, or do you just kind of hint saying, hey, we need more light people who would be interested in this?
So every once in a while we will find, so every once in a while we will post on our Discord and say, hey, so we are looking to fill these roles. If you're interested in doing this, that, this, whatever, we'll train you in it, and we'll see how it goes, and please approach us. And we've had a few people onboarded this way. I mean, I myself am one of those. What we've had even more success in, I will say, is just, oh god, I don't like that word, but I'm going to use it, networking. Or in other words, just talking to people and making friends, right? Just, yeah, you're talking to people. Somebody mentions to you like, oh, how do you even do this? Oh, that's kind of interesting. Kind of like I did with Marco here. I'm like, yeah, okay, come by. You got time in 30 minutes? I'll show you. And then it just kind of happens. You know, the people that are interested, they will sort of show their dedication, and sometimes even proactively reach out and be like, hey, this is an interesting, or like you kind of show them something, and then it, like, there's a synergy happening. So all in all, it's a lot of in-person contact in VR, just a lot of talking to people and people showing interest, but also some of the more formal on Discord announcement, opening ticket type. It's a good mix, but the networking side of things seems to be more successful.
I find it very interesting in VRChat as of recently, because again, as Sai and I have been kind of like talking a little bit about nostalgia times, how VRChat used to be this like goofy place to go and get into some crazy looking avatar and be goofy and run around and socialize and stuff, compared to as we're moving into our community, where again, saying the word networking sounds business, but I don't know. I mean, people in here, we're learning trades, we're learning new hobbies and new things to do that are really awesome. So despite saying it as a networking thing, it's never really bad. You know, we're all kind of looking to do something great for the community, and we're looking to add even more while gaining, a sense of pride over a specific thing that you could do. And I find that interesting, because again, we went from a goofy space, and I would love to go back to that goofy space where we can goof around and have a good time, but we could do it professionally. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Merlz is a professional goofball outside of, because I mean, I'm surprised he didn't come in with some sort of meme avatar, because I feel like, but despite doing a really good job DJing and stuff, like you do goofy stuff, and I think it's a professional goofball like you that make it professional. So I think a lot of people agree with me. Kind of headed over and
professional goofball hits it right.
Yeah,
right on the spot.
You should probably make some new business cards that say professional goofball. I think you would. I would want one. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So I want to get Sai's attention a little bit more based on the different venues that you guys have for Subsystem, and one you have 2, Hardbox and Server Room, but they both have their individual styles, and I kind of want you to bring light to it. What you guys got going on for those?
Yeah, so that kind of philosophy of making the venues that are really kind of locked to a certain set of genres, and that kind of idea came from my original design when we relaunched with Hardbox version 2. Because the first run was kind of like very wacky. It was like, as the DJ scene started to form, we kind of just booked whoever wanted to play, and it was very wild. Like, we'd have someone playing house, and then someone hip hop after, and then it was all over the place, but people still had a good time because there was nothing like it. And as that scene kind of matured and we relaunched Hardbox with version 2 and kind of started with the whole subsystem thing, I wanted to kind of set an expectation. So if someone comes to Hardbox or comes to server room, they know what kind of music to expect. Similar to if I go to an IRL venue, like I obviously know a bunch of German ones here because I'm from Germany, but like Bootshaus, which is known for heavy bass music. Or if you go to Liquidity as a festival, you know you're expecting like drum and bass. Things like that. That's kind of where I drew the inspiration, and that's kind of how I designed the philosophy for those venues originally. I wanted people to know if I go to Hardbox tonight, I'm likely going to hear hard dance. And the same thing with Server Room. If I go there tonight, I'm expecting this and that. And that's kind of how that whole thing originated, with different venues being set like locked to a different set of genres. And then we kind of went from there. The different venues were designed based on other venues, real life venues where we drew inspiration from that are focused on those kind of genres. So things like that kind of went into the design of those venues. And then also just things that we thought were cool and worked with whatever we wanted to accomplish. So, for example, like Hardbox went through a bunch of iterations, and at some point we actually made like the physical box that you're standing in with the light rods, which was based on I don't know if you know the name, but Beeple, who does a lot of visual art and VJ loops and stuff like that. He had a loop that was literally like an illuminated cube like that, and I was like, why don't we do something with that? Like, we could literally just illuminate a cube like that, have our lighting designer or a VJ do stuff like that. So it's a lot of inspiration from all kinds of sources, both from real life and virtual spaces, and that's kind of how those venues came to be.
Now, obviously, I haven't been to a lot of venues in Germany, nor have I even been to Germany. I really wish I wanted to. But would you kind of consider that there are not really lots of venues like that? But how does that compare? How does the experience in VR with these two venues compared to whatever you do have going out for a night on the town in Germany?
Yeah, I think it's fairly similar. Like I would consider us to have a very similar vibe to a lot of those places. A lot of those places have like that underground kind of vibe, but it's still high production value. So you're kind of you could be in like a rundown warehouse or something, but like all the equipment they use is very much like expensive equipment and high-end equipment, and the production is really high quality as compared to like just a pop-up rave or something where it's like we got a bunch of decks, we got some speakers, and that's how it's gonna roll. And I think it, like Merlz can probably also attest, but I think our philosophy is very aligned with what you'd expect at like a German kind of venue of that kind of caliber.
Yeah, I personally categorize venues usually within basically two how to say this, like main categories. It's the more real and the surrealist ones, and we are definitely in the realist ones.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
Like it's supposed to mimic real life. You got real fixtures trying to emit light and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's supposed to feel like it's a real place that you could have in real life, as opposed to other venues that just kind of go for, there's a couple particles flowing around, and that's just a different approach, and that's also really cool, and you can only really have that in VR. But ours is trying to mimic the real feel. It's also funny that you mentioned Bootshaus, because in Hardbox we've got the fans up on the ceiling, right? And that idea actually got like ripped off from Bootshaus.
Yeah, we saw
they have that same one.
They have exactly those kind of fans. Yeah, like I said, we draw a lot of inspiration from real life venues, and then kind of design our own place out of all those little bits that we like, and put them all together into like our perfect kind of setup in a way.
I know for the type of music that plays at your venues, obviously you're looking for, all the different light effects and I wouldn't say even strobe effects, but, again, you either want a venue that has a lot of strobes or you don't have a venue that has a lot of strobes. It really depends on your own musical preference and where you want to be. But one of the kind of hot topics leading into 2025 is kind of not even generating the perfect venue, but do you guys, all three of you, do you think that will we be seeing a lot more futuristic venues in the future, or are we kind of aiming, kind of guiding ourselves into another type of venue experience?
I
I'm
can
kind of
take it.
clueless, honestly. I don't know where we're going thematically. Do you have any idea, Marco? You
I
maybe?
think I
I
think it's
have no
Marco, yeah.
clue. I don't know. It just depends on what people want to make. I'm not entirely sure.
That's exactly where I was gonna go as well. I think it's a very passion-driven community, especially now. As things kind of crystallize, there's a lot of people that split off from existing clubs because they want to kind of do their own thing that really fulfills like their perfect idea of a venue. Like that's exactly what they have in mind and things like that. I think we're gonna continue seeing a big variety of things. I think it's just gonna become wider and like more tailored to very different niche kind of consumers. Like I wouldn't say there's like one specific trend that will happen, but it's like the variety that kind of is what's growing ever more and more, and that's kind of where I see the scene heading. It's like more specialized venues, more niche kind of venues coming is like for very niche kind of consumers.
I know, kind of an outsider looking in, especially because I'm not really too versed in making worlds and understanding that process now, especially with the new Udon system. Is just a matter of being able to pump out those popular worlds quick enough to be able to experience something that we haven't experienced before. And one of the things that we do continuously talk a little bit about that has drawn a lot of attention is boiler room setups. And while they do have their own novelty to them, and I think that they work really well, I think the one key factor that I feel like is missing from that is having physical bodies not being able to crash into the DJ or maybe even feeling space of people around you and being in that crowd, but also kind of being right next to the DJ and feeding off of his energy. How do you guys see boiler room setups kind of in the future? Is it going to continue its popularity? Are we going to be seeing maybe an advanced version of that as we lead in?
I think you'll see both. Both have their own charm, really. And I've playing a boiler room type venue is a lot of fun, but you can't realize everything with a boiler type venue, and you can't realize everything with the other type. So you'll probably just see like a bit of both here and there. I will say for those that are wondering what that means, a boiler room venue is like a central stage design type venue that's really up close. There's not a whole lot of barriers towards the DJ. I specifically remember watching this one boiler room set that I think everyone and their dog has seen, which is the Fred Again one, where somebody's like dancing right next to him. Come on, everybody saw that one.
Yeah, everyone's done it.
And then there's this one guy like next to him dancing really hard, and like he hits the cue button of the DJ booth, effectively stopping the music with his elbow. And like Fred looks to the side, and he's like, and the guy's super scared, and he's like, "No, come on, let me give you a hug." Presses play again, and just recovers from it. And then like the other people like go back. Like, but yeah, it's basically it's more central design type venue, and I've seen it around a lot more. But it won't take over it or replace anything, as per usual. There's going to be a variety of stages, and as soon as there's like a deficit of one thing, somebody's going to think to themselves, "Man, I wish there was more of this," and then there's going to be more of this. So at least that's my hope for it. There's going to be a whole bunch of variety, and we'll have both. We'll have both. Both has its charm too.
Where do you guys see the popularity of back-to-backs happening in 2025? Is it going to be happening a lot sooner than we want?
I think like VR makes that one pretty hard. It's like people usually do them when they happen to do like an IRL meetup or something, or like at ShelterCon or something. If those events are streamed in VR as well, people do back-to-backs because it's like their one chance to really do it. And I think there's things we could do to optimize it, but inevitably like the trouble is always going to be like latency across the world or across the country and things like that. So I think back-to-backs are still gonna happen whenever people do IRL meetups, but I don't think it's gonna like be any more than that.
I mean, some people also do like pseudo B2Bs where they pre-record their parts
Yeah, they
and then
pre-record
just
it.
kind of play them. I've done that once, and I felt like, for myself personally, I felt it was like a little bit underwhelming because I wasn't sure what I was going to do with myself. I just kind of stood there as the music was playing.
Yeah,
That was the one time I did that, and I won't do it again. But I will say back-to-backs are insanely fun. They're just really complicated to do. They're not accessible. As you mentioned, there's the problem with latency on the internet that makes it really difficult to really execute. Not impossible, but quite the headache. And so what me and my friend Merlz, for example, did, shout out, we met up IRL, and we wanted it to be the full experience, right? We've got a VJ doing visuals in the background and whatnot. We had custom versions of these avatars made, so it would like looked like we'd have a special outfit for that gig. We'd do a fancy trailer and whatnot, and then I would meet up with him IRL. I literally put together a mini ATX form factor PC that's basically the size of a modern Xbox, I feel like, just twice as heavy. And I put in an old GPU of mine, and I ordered some parts like a new motherboard, a new CPU, new RAM, and everything, and the housing, of course, and then what's it called, a PSU, all of that stuff. Set me back by I think $800 something, and then that's next to all the other stuff that I invested into the B2B happening. And the train tickets to actually visit Medlush. So, and then I had to drag that, like, I had to take that PC with me, do a whole bunch of prep work. And in the end, we always meet up for like hours ahead, and we set up everything, we test everything, and when we finally get to it, the final result is my PC is running somewhere on the side. Medlish would have like a secondary screen and keyboard and mouse for me ready, so I could just plug it all in. I would bring my trackers, and luckily we're on the same system, so I'm using his base stations as he's using them with his trackers, and then we would play on his Flex 10, which is like a big DJ controller. And the way I would see the software in my headset is through parsecing into his machine. So I would see his screen.
This already sounds like a nightmare, dude.
It's
logistics
effort.
of making things happening is crazy. Like there's one thing, talking about those kind of things, there's one thing I'd really like to see more. It's not like B2Bs per se, but there's like the whole beat battle thing where it's like one DJ playing like a bunch of stuff, and then the other DJ has to like follow up, and they're kind of battling each other. That's something I think would be pretty cool to do, because then latency becomes a non-issue, right? Because it's just one DJ plays a bunch of stuff, the other DJ plays a bunch of things. Stuff like that could be super fun.
Have you ever heard of Knockout? Like, that's an old event concept from the hardstyle scene. Hardstyle DJs would basically pre-produce diss tracks against each other, and then you'd have stuff like what was it, like D-Block and Estefan versus noise controllers and whatnot, and then they would beef it out like on the decks, and it was just really funny.
Yeah, but like stuff like that I think could be fun. It's like a way to bridge like that gap that B2B kind of leaves, because it's really hard to do, and as you heard, it requires a lot of planning and logistics to pull off. So
listen, I'm not saying that like we could always come up with some new cooler thing to do, but I mean, there is definitely opportunities to kind of kickstart 2025 by doing all sorts of wacky stuff.
For sure.
Well, I'm not the only one that did B2B so far. I've seen a bunch of other people, and with all that underlined, I just wanted to say it's a massive headache getting it going if you want to do it like really properly. But in the end, there will be people that are passionate about it, because this space attracts people that are passionate about things. And it's not impossible, so you'll see it. I'm pretty sure.
I do know that we had Mayor of Texas on here a couple of months ago, and he is such an audio guy, so much so that he was like pushing me to try to do a setup that he had created that works really well with B2B, and I'm just like, I don't know, man. I mean, if people start learning about it, then people are going to start asking me for all this sort of stuff. And then once the word gets out, it's just going to be a mess of B2B on all the posters and whatever. But who knows? I mean,
B2B fest.
The B2B.
B2B fest.
And then we'll have B2B2B, and it's like, well, three guys there. I feel like that's for another website, Marco. I don't know about that, but
Sai, can we do one of those sets at my venue at Hivemind and call it a B2B?
Oh.
Anyway, moving on to the next question.
Copyright it. You got to make sure you copyright that.
Oh, hell no.
Anyway, we're back here at VRCDJLIVE. We're doing it live with Subsystem, with Merlz, Marco, and Sai here. And kind of continuing on with the different venues. Have there been any venues that you guys have kind of experienced that you've really enjoyed, a specific thing? Not really to work with what you guys got going on, but something that you've gotten really excited about in VRChat recently?
I do have something actually. I got dragged by Coffee or Kohi in the chat to Concrete a week ago, I think. I can't remember time. And honestly, I feel like it's definitely something that's missing in Europe. It was really impressive. I actually ended up falling asleep there.
It was so good.
That's when you know that it's really good that you do that.
They were playing ambient.
But yeah. I think there's one place as well that, thanks to Merlz, I got to visit and I played at, and that was probably one of the coolest experiences I've ever had standing behind the decks, and that is Seren, which is like a UK club. I'm pretty sure I saw you actually there, Rob. I was playing there twice, pretty quickly, like 2 weeks apart. But the first time I played there, it was really crazy. Like, I play some heavy drum and bass from time to time, a bunch of dance floor, and then some really heavy stuff in between. And Seren has this really cool thing where they have like rails that you can actually grab, and like people headbang on them and stuff.
I did notice
And
that
it's
from
a
that one
really-
club. It was really neat.
Yeah. And it's a really, really tiny space too. So it actually feels like you're playing at an underground venue. It almost got a boiler room kind of feel, but the decks are at the back. And it's just, it was amazing. Like, that place was crazy. I was just having such a good time spinning there. I was going nuts on the decks because of just how crazy the crowd reactions were. And that place was awesome. Like, shout out to those guys. Seren absolutely kills it.
I can only imagine the people that are actually rocking the rails, you know, that
Yeah.
you could be punching walls or breaking your knuckles or something. You really got to have to make sure you know where your space
But the
is.
virtual rails.
Yeah, but I also want the virtual pain to go with the rails to be able to punch the walls.
Starting a mosh pit and just running into your wall.
I mean, if you haven't experienced VR chat unless you've done a little bit of damage, and those whether warrior
True.
bruises or warrior scars or wherever you got going on.
Yeah.
Kind of going a little bit more focused in on your Discord group and your community, and I kind of want a little bit of an inside scoop on how does your group kind of operate? Do you guys talk a lot in your Discord? Do you share a lot of new ideas or even like new music and stuff? What kind of goes on in the Subsystem Discord?
So
Oh
we have
God,
two
the yapping.
places. We have two places. We have the normal Discord, which is like for everyone that attends the events, where we do official communication, those kind of things. And we have a team Discord, which is like where we organize ourselves, where we talk about like projects, where we do like, oh, we've got this event coming up, who can do which part, stuff like that. The main Discord is a little less active than I'd like it to be. Like, we have people talking in there, but I'd be very happy to see like more exchange happening, people just talking about it. Usually it gets pretty active on the days where we host events because people are like excited and talk about stuff there. But during the other times, it's a little more quiet. We have the occasional people chatting. We have the occasional someone sharing like a song they like or sharing a mix that they really enjoyed, kind of those kind of things. But I think there's definitely some room for improvement there. But it's just like we only have so many people and so many hands to take care of things, and the production of the actual like events takes so much time that we don't really have a lot of time to kind of kickstart those conversations in the main Discord.
I feel like you need a lot more memes.
Yeah, we just need like some key pillars of the community. I feel like some core members that just kind of kickstart the chat a little bit here and there. That being said, the team Discord is the craziest yap town ever. Like, everybody is super involved, and everybody is constantly chatting about things, constantly bringing up ideas, and then those ideas are quickly turn into like at work we call those a Slack bomb, because that's the chat software we use. So it would be a Discord bomb where it's like one person posting one thing, and then it kickstarts a 300 message discussion about that thing. And that happens a lot, like a lot. Everybody's super involved and super passionate. So I'm really happy that everybody's putting in the feedback. But it's crazy at times. Like, it's nuts.
Now, I know I'm going to be kind of a boomer here because I have zero idea. I just find it more entertaining to ask because, you know, I don't know. It's quirky at the same time. I don't understand it, but at the same time, it's kind of quirky. But I really enjoy when you guys post some really like cryptic-y looking script things in Twitter, and it kind of looks like something that you would put in as code or something. But kind of take me through the process of how that gets developed, because again, for me, it's just a matter for if I were to do it, I'd be smashing the keyboard. I'd be like beep boop bop boop boop, and then it's just like it looks like code. But there has to be some sort of like format of how that gets developed, right?
Yeah, I think I can take this one because it's pre both of these guys. Like, this is something that we originally came up with because we thought it was cool. Like, we think like making things look like terminals and like look like it's like a script, or like it's a message that's getting like decoded in a way. It's something that we originally had because we had a little bit of lore for our venue. So originally the Hardbox venue was like this thing where you would be taken to in this dystopian future where everything kind of sucks. And then there's this thing called the Hard Force, is what we called it, which are the people that are driving around in vans and they're picking up people that are desolate and so sad about everything. And they take them to our place in our venue and they get to experience joy and have a good time and things like that. So that's kind of where that all started. And then obviously it developed from that. It was like, oh, that would be kind of cool. We're talking like we're the management. We're talking to like, oh, this is the rave revolution, those kind of things. And the idea was basically like, yeah, you would be the person living in this desolate, cyberpunky kind of future, and you would receive these messages onto your phones and things like that. And that's how you kind of get into the place. So that's how that kind of developed. And then basically from there, it's just super basic. Like we're trying to emulate how you would interact with a modern like terminal, with like our server software, things like that. So that's kind of where we draw the inspiration from. That's how those posts kind of get made up. And it's a little bit of that, and we sprinkle in a little bit of stuff that just sounds cool and looks cool. And then yeah, that's kind of how that all developed.
I mean, it definitely aids in the whole being fully immersed, especially when you do come into a venue and you were just like, I got the secret message on the secret piece of paper. I'm going to post this, put in the face so I can get entry. You know, I'm a VIP and some kind of like that. But even when you do come into the venues, you're already kind of just like, oh my gosh, like I'm actually well, I don't want to say you're in the Matrix, but like, you know. I'm dating myself a little bit. I do apologize, but
no, that's a classic.
Yeah,
okay.
That's the only thing I can think about is just like, gosh, I don't even know what they're called, but you have those text windows that you could generate a picture out of little pixels and little asterisks.
ASCII art.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm always expecting one of those to kind of pop up in my. Like, oh, you're welcome. You're invited to this thing, and it's just a full sheet of like things. And
oh my god,
I don't recommend
Subsystem logo ASCII art.
Was that?
Oh god,
we need Subsystem logo ASCII art. I don't know if we're live, but it would be cool.
That's another one of those like positive Discord bombs, though. I will say, like somebody like Marco will just do it, and then somebody comes in, oh yeah, wait, let me do it, and then it just kind of happens.
Yeah, that's exactly how we operate as a team. Like. You just saw it happening live. You're mentioning ASCII art, and we're like, wow, we should do that. That was a good idea.
I don't know for what.
Yeah, I'm not saying bring it back and then put it on a t-shirt that I would actually wear all of the time. That sounds terrible. Actually, don't do that. But I would still.
Oh god, I'm gonna mention this very cautiously. We did consider merch on multiple occasions, but we're just still struggling in terms of
like the idea is lingering always. Like merch is always lingering in the back because people ask us so much about merch. Actually, it's crazy. Like how much people want to have merch from us, but it's like we're like, do we really want to deal with all that? Like, if we make merch, we kind of want to make high quality merch, right? And the problem is, like, that means we have to pre-produce it, get it produced on mass, and then take care of the shipping and everything ourselves. Versus like having a cheaper kind of store where people do it on demand. And we kind of don't want to do on demand because the quality is usually ass. So yeah, merch is always like kind of floating in the back.
Yeah, on top of that, like, but if we do it ourselves, how do we do the whole taxes thing? And then on top of that comes like, what if somebody returns something? What if suddenly we have a massive defect, and then like half the people are like, oh, this isn't working, or like this is breaking too soon. Like we're scared of like getting it done properly, but when it ever drops, we'll try to get it as like high quality as possible. That's a bit of a standard we're setting ourselves. But at the same time, we're shooting ourselves in the foot because we're just not getting to it. At least we haven't gotten to it yet. Who knows? I am very hopeful for mid-2025 to have a little something like a try run of sorts, but I cannot promise anything. Like, just take this as me.
Yeah, I think if it comes down to it, we might just have to try like an on-demand run as a first kind of thing and see how that goes.
It's kind of
that, or like a drop of sorts. But
it's kind of an ongoing topic, especially because like obviously you want to represent your favorite brand or your favorite DJ. Merlz over here with the. You know, I want that. I'm gonna hassle you for that sweater, bro.
Hear me out. The way this is gonna happen is the way it happened the last couple times around. I'm gonna just post this to any of my bird-like socials and be like, "Hey, I want a new hoodie for myself, or I need a shirt for myself. Who wants to order it with me?" And then the last time around, I was just surprised by how many people were like, "I'll take one," and then suddenly I had to do shipping fulfillment. which was fun in itself. But I don't want to do this all the time. I don't want to constantly shill my stuff. So I'm just saying, just look at the bird-like socials that I'm on, and then I will probably at some point be like, hey.
That's why you do pre-sale. Yeah, you gain the money for the pre-sale that you use to make the thing. But I'm not pressuring you.
I can do like a light investment beforehand, but still, I'd rather keep this like a friend sort of thing rather than a top-down, this is me, the artist, you order from my shop now type of thing. I do like how in VRChat things are a lot more personal and up close, and I don't even like being looked up to like this much. I like keeping things level-headed, so that's probably how I'll do it next time around again. Keep an eye out there, lol.
Oh my god, real Merlz in an interview with
Holy
me?
shit.
That's crazy.
See, that's the thing, right? You get a ton of people wearing the Merlz merch, and then you can make a break for it because then everybody's going to ask them if they're the real Merlz.
Oh, this happened. Shout out to Noosphere in that regard, who recently actually joined the photographer team. He's had that problem because like I handed out like I needed a shirt, a Merlz shirt for myself because I was playing a real life gig over at Costa del Fishbowl in Eindhoven, and that was fun. But it was also at the end of August, if I remember correctly. Yeah, and it was really warm, so I didn't want to be there in my hoodie, but I wanted to sort of represent that look still, because like, you know, I'm out there in VR, might as well do it. And I did the same thing again, posted it to bird-like socials, and 2 or 3 people were like, yeah, give me one too. And then I headed those out. And Noosphere, next time around, like for the next meetup, which happened like a month later at 4 Seasons. Was it a month? I don't know. Shout out to that team, by the way. They absolutely killed it on that IRL event production. That was beautiful. But Noosphere was running around with that Merlz shirt, and people kept asking him like, oh, are you Merlz? Are you Merlz? And then he taped like a I'm not tape up here to say that, like, just to signify that it's not him, that he's not Merlz.
I am looking forward to a lot of different merch in the new year, and I know that's putting a lot of pressure on a lot of different groups, but you know, I'm the type of guy that drinks a cup of coffee in the morning, and I really want a nice Subsystem cup of coffee in a mug, hopefully at some point in time, but you know, we'll get there when we do. This is VRCDJLIVE. We're hanging out here with Subsystem, and of course, as I've always said before, please feel free to drop any questions you have for our show and what you guys got for these guys, because they're here and it's live, and we're doing it live here on Thanksgiving Day, so that's super important. I want to kind of quickly circle back to the idea of the type of music that you provide for your venues, the hardcore style, and do you find that new users come in and they are a little hesitant to kind of enjoy a Subsystem kind of event with all the flashing lights, and how do you welcome new people to come in and enjoy the stuff compared to something else that they could be enjoying?
I think that's where your curation does magic, because it's like our events start out very mellow. Like we have this idea of musical progression that is, like Merlz said, like the heavy curation we have. So it always starts out a little more approachable, I'd say. And as the event progresses, it gets a little heavier or more into like the kind of like higher BPM range for those kind of things. And I think that makes it a lot more approachable than a lot of other events, because it is so heavily curated and so like thought out, start to finish. And I think it's like most of the lights and stuff are comparable to IRL shows. So I think it's pretty manageable, even for new people. Like it's not too overwhelming. But I think Merlz can say a little more on that as well.
I think in many ways it really boils down to us making the experience very seamless. On top of that, on the personal level, of course, I want to say, whenever I notice that there are new people on that note, once again, shout out to Rose, who does that a whole lot. Whenever she sees new people, she's going to be one of the first ones to approach them and be like, hey, you're a new bean. I want, how are you doing? What are you doing here? Oh my God, it's your first time here. Welcome to Sub. And I try to like take like even like a fraction of that energy and put it into the same mission of making people feel welcome. But also, like I said, it's about making the experience seamless, and it ranges through a lot of things. For example, what helps a lot is like some events often start with like a video player that somebody takes care of, and then they put like the stream links of the DJs in there one by one. And then in the meantime, as the music stops and the new stream needs to be loaded into the video player, and then it needs to be loaded for everyone, and it refreshes. Maybe there's a little hiccup or something. We have like one centralized stream, and we're far from the only ones doing this. But we have like a centralized stream that is operated, and then that one goes into the venue. And in the meantime, you get a nice little screen, maybe some waiting music to know. Oh yeah, no, it's not just you with no music right now. There's a little intermission happening. The breaks are kept rather short. When you join in as the event opens up, you get this like little like waiting music. Like I wouldn't even call it waiting music. It's like music that gets you pumped and hyped because it's got cinematic drums in there and stuff. So you get really excited. And all of that just makes for like a very, very seamless experience. The curation slowly taking you from the more approachable stuff into the more matte stuff, which I often notice would be this like frog in boiling type of water effect, where it's people not even realizing just how hard the music goes, and suddenly they find themselves like kind of moving to it, and oh wait, this usually isn't for me, but like I suddenly got carried there. That's interesting. A lot of it is just very much about making the whole experience very seamless and like making it very easy to stay. I feel like the light shows also help because instead of only having like the music, you get visuals on the screens, and you also get the light shows that give you something to look at that's really cool and beautiful. And on top of that, of course, you have a really nice community, which I gotta say, shout out to the community on that end, because we fostered a really nice and welcoming community that, as a new user, you can easily approach and talk to and party with them. It's just an overall very fluent experience, and I feel like that's what helps a lot. That makes a huge difference.
I think to put it like in a short way, it's like new people are kind of getting stuck in a wow moment rather than being overwhelmed, like, because it's just very cool. Like, I'm very proud of the stuff that the team has made, and I think that's kind of more where new people kind of go. Like, it's just like, whoa, this is really cool, versus like, oh god, what is happening? So much stuff going on.
They're in a wow moment until a little later in the event where they become blind.
Dude, I love this show. I'm so my eyes.
When Marco decides to invite God into the venue once again.
Yeah, when you get flashbang playing Counter-Strike, that's basically the same thing as giving Marco like the strobes.
Not saying that that's intentional, right? You would definitely want.
No. Yeah. That's intentional. Because at the end, like, music goes crazy. Like, we have like high BPM, lots of intensity, and the lights match all that. And sometimes there's a little flashbang, but usually it's pretty good.
Sometimes that's where the fun is at.
Yeah, sometimes you just don't want to see anything.
Fair share of blinding people. I did it too often.
Yeah, but it's important to make sure that your eyeballs work and that you know your eyeballs work, as opposed to you thinking your eyeballs work.
You know they hurt when they hurt.
Yeah,
it's basically a calibration process. Yeah, we're just checking that everybody still has their eyeballs.
For me being like, oh, everything's lit here. Oh, I got to see how ugly everyone is. Oh no, like,
never mind.
It's okay. It gets so bright you can't even see anyone else.
Speaking about your community, how much you love your community, and well, I love your community too, because you guys have really big events and you have really full events, and it really shows because, you know, you do have people time to time in queue really wanted to come in and see some shows. Where do you guys see Subsystem wanting to grow? Do you want a larger venue? Do you want a larger community? You want more show? What's going on here? Do you want to continuously fill out venues?
I think we're at a good level.
I think
what I feel like right now is where we found a way to like find, and like I said initially, we're struggling to like fill the slots of the stuff we wanted to do. We were very ambitious, and we still are very ambitious, but we finally managed to get into this flow of like actually not burning ourselves out on events, but keeping them at a consistent quality. And that's something where I really like where we're at. I don't want growth over every like just in any way. Yeah. Oh yeah, you got anything to say about that? You look like you do.
I think we're pretty happy with the level we're at, but also, like, I think most venues consistently strive for growth. Like, you always want to do bigger, better, in a way. So I'm super happy with where we're at. We're consistently delivering quality events, but I also think that there's always room for improvement and always room to grow a little more. And we've got a bunch of other stuff in the works that should help accommodate other genres of music and stuff in the future as well. We obviously want to bring in more people because we're super passionate about music. We're super passionate about running events, and the more people get to experience it, the better.
I know one of the one of the spicy topics that I know people in chat have already started kind of talking about. And we were talking about it just last week with Ministry about adjusting the cap for a lot of venues from 80 to maybe 90. I know people have been screaming. There are a couple of people in here screaming 120, and I'm already like, my frames.
Yeah.
Do you think that in the future we could potentially get 90 people for a cap?
I wouldn't say it's off the table. We've done a few tests to increase caps on random lobbies just to see how they hold up. The main thing is that people's avatars are usually very horrible, and they're the reason that a lot of people are lagging. And there is a bunch of technical hurdles still in the way before we can ever consider raising the cap. But it is something that does get talked about internally quite a bit.
I think more of the
It's something-
question is, not to cut you off, but do you think that 90 people may already be too much? I already think 80 people's a lot.
It depends on the use case. I feel like 80 is a lot for a lot of places. For events, I think there's always like the dream to go a little bigger to fill out, like the big stadium, having like a festival world that's actually full of people, things like that. But I think 80 for the majority of VRChat as a whole is already a pretty good place.
Now, I'm not going to say that we're going to be rolling into some more uneven terrain here in the next couple of minutes. And I want to ask this question before we carry on to another really big topic in our community, club etiquette. I know recently has been kind of talked a little bit about. I know I got to experience it a couple of weeks ago where just people came in and they were just an ass hat is just a nice way of saying that they're not doing their job. But I also know that we have a lot of users coming in the next couple of weeks with their new headsets, their new PCs and stuff. And I want us all to kind of make sure that we welcome them, but also tell them that, listen, if you've not been to a club, this is how you're supposed to do it. But and we'll get to that just moments from now. But I just kind of want to visit really quick, talking about Four Seasons and Coast of the Fishbowl and stuff like that. Some really large groups in VR kind of branching off into IRL events. And I kind of want to know your opinions on when and if we could be seeing a Subsystem IRL event, or where we should be heading in the next year when it comes to these types of events.
Well, it's not off the table, I would say. There have been talks internally about it, and yeah, many. It's not. There's nothing planned. I will say that much. But we are looking into it, and maybe in the future. I think our biggest issue is that we are just not experienced. We are a virtual reality rave venue, and we are so specialized in it. There's so many things that we just don't know how to do with real life venues, and there are some people on the team that do this professionally and they offer their help. But it's a different thing if like one or two people know about it than like the team really getting to it. So I think we need to like get that experience in some way. But
I think it's also worth mentioning that Germany is probably the place where we would be hosting it, given like a majority of the team is Germany based, and Germany isn't the easiest place to host like an IRL event. Like it's there's a lot of regulations, a lot of things that need to be sorted. It's like if you have tickets for sale, you need like this kind of licensing, and you need to get this prepped and that, and you need to have these things that need to be insured, and this insurance needs to be done, and blah blah. There's a lot. It's very overwhelming. We do, like Merlz said, we have a bunch of people that have a little bit of experience with it and a little bit of knowledge with it, but it's just like it's not enough to where we're confident in being able to deliver the quality of experience that we want to deliver. So it's like a thing we want to do eventually, but like right now it's just not really possible.
I think the next question would be, is this something that we should be investing more time into with clubs doing IRL in the future? Because I know just this past year, we've had about 12 to 13 IRL events from VRChat clubs, and they seem to be springing up all over the place. But again, just as Rose said in chat, Stairs bank account, being able to afford it compared to the kind of the demand for it, do you think it's even a wise decision to continue that growth of doing these IRL events in the future?
Well, if we did, we certainly wouldn't do it for the money, and I don't think you could realistically set that expectation either.
No, we'd lose money on it if we were to do it IRL, for sure.
Yeah.
Like 100%. I think that's the thing that every venue kind of has to decide for themselves. I think it makes a lot of sense in spaces like for Shelter, for example. They're in a region where they can easily host it with the networking and stuff that they've done. And there's a lot of interest around it, obviously. So I think it makes sense for them to host something like that. And I think it's really cool to see it branching into real life. Like the power of VRChat there as a connecting tool is amazing because those people all found each other through here, and then it managed to branch into the real life and kind of break out of those virtual spaces a little bit. But yeah, I think as long as people do it for the right reasons and the right motives, it's definitely a good thing that people should keep doing, in my opinion.
Yeah, and even that being said, I'm fairly sure that Shelter is losing money on ShelterCon. I can't imagine
for
that they are in the blacks.
Yeah, that's
I'm
usually
pretty
how the
sure.
small promotions kind of go.
Yeah, same with Lyoko and the other places. I'm pretty sure it's a passion thing.
They're doing it for the love of music and
it's really
bringing people
admirable,
together.
though.
It is a little kind of a harder topic to discuss, especially nowadays, especially with the changing times and the climate, and even getting into a new year, especially here on the America side. You know, jobs are kind of hard, and getting money to survive is hard. But the people that do come into VR, they love to come in and experience. Be able to reap the benefits of having an expensive headset, expensive computer, and having our community provide for those people to come in and just take a break and listen to some music. Unfortunately, there are some groups that set that bar really high to the point where we're like, are we sure we want to jump for that? Are we sure we really want to continue to try to test that weight in that bar? And there's also some people that want to make a profession out of it. And these are the types of topics that I'm like, it's not a matter of bringing up to tell you that you can't do it and you can't chase your dreams, but you can. But just the fact that it does take some time and influence and getting everyone involved in that. Kind of want to go ahead and we're running a little bit of time, and I know we had a bunch of questions to talk to, a lot of awesome things, and I would love to get you guys back here to talk more about those things. But one of the things I did want to mention today and bring light to is just club etiquette. The fact that people are getting into, again, December's next week. We have the holidays coming. People will be getting their new PCs. They're getting their new headsets. What can we do in our community to kind of help shape a better club etiquette style for our new users that are coming in, that are experiencing videos online, experiencing VR chat from something? What do you think we should be doing to kind of aid that process?
I can take it. I think the main thing we should all kind of try to be is very welcoming to those people. Like, they're not used to the space. It's very different from IRL. It's got its own kind of social norms and kind of, etiquette, like you said. And I think the most important thing is teaching these people how it works around here and not being like, oh, you're doing it wrong, get out of here. Because that's the wrong way to do it. That's not how they learn. I think if you're hopping around Publix and you happen to run into somebody new that like has a passion for music or something, take them to a club, like show them what it's like, but also let them know like, hey, if you're gonna go there, this is kind of what you should expect. Like, you should try to, be respectful to people. You should probably have an avatar prepared that is like poor or better, or even medium, depending on the places. You can take them to an avatar search world and grab them an avatar just so they're prepared. Things like that. I think it's super important to, like Rose said, be the example you want to see. If you want to see people behaving well, be the person to take them and tell them how it's supposed to work.
I know one of the things that is we see occasionally when we get into Worlds is a nice little placard that kind of reminds you the different common courtesies that you need to be, as well as the type of avatar performance ratings that we want them to have. But what are some, just kind of taking a step back to basics 101, what are the common the common courtesies that you should be holding onto doing to some of these clubs?
Merlz, you want to talk me?
I don't really have much to say about that, unfortunately.
Honestly,
I think
be respectful. Like,
that's the main one.
It.
be kind is like the golden rule for anything,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, be
Be
treated
nice
the
to
way you want to
people.
be treated.
No one here is getting paid, so no need to like fucking go and like have beef with someone. It's not worth it.
Yeah. Be respectful. Make use of the moderation tools that you have. If you don't like someone, mute them or block them instead of like causing a scene. Things like that. Don't get super belligerently like drunk. Know your limits. Things like that. I think those are like the main things that people should care about, as well as avatar performance. Like, don't be the idiot that runs around with like the super bloated avatar that makes everyone have a worse time. Just like be nice.
I know one of the things, the hot topics on YouTube, as well as representing our rave community and our dance community, is just the fact that you do have a lot of people that do ingest alcohol, maybe some form of a drug, or maybe they're even saying that they're doing drugs, but they're not doing drugs, or maybe they have caffeine or sugar or something. And you know, I would say, what else can we do within our communities to help alleviate that? I don't want to say have sober nights, because that's kind of quirky, but you know, someone did mention in an interview recently that it's kind of difficult to cheers every 10 seconds, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But what is something else we can do to help alleviate this?
So as organizers, we actually noticed at some point, like, yeah, some people sometimes they go a bit hard, and we actually have a little warning that we play in the middle of the shows. We specifically don't play it at the start, because that's when people are slowly flocking in. There's a warm up. We don't really do it at the end often. We often go for between the first and the second set, because that's when most people have entered, and they're still like all there, not entirely sunk into conversations, and then we'll play a little disclaimer going, hey, you know, partying in the virtual realm is fun, but please keep in mind it comes with risks. Remember to rave responsibly, stay hydrated, take breaks when needed, and make sure that everyone around you has a good time. Your what was it again? Your well-being and the safety of others should always come first.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
that's
very important for us.
and sometimes we play that reminder twice just in case we feel like it's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we're not there to try and tell people not to drink alcohol or not to get high or something like that. We want people to be as comfortable as they can be, and we want people to enjoy themselves in their own ways. But very important, like the message mentions, take care of those around you. Make sure that you're not like in your own consumption making it a worse experience for everyone around you, because at that point you're becoming a problem in the venue, and that's not what we want. Like, we want you to have a good time, but do it in a way where you don't like make other people have a worse time.
Yeah, that's why that reminder is also trying not to be too intrusive and too annoying.
Yeah.
It's giving you that gentle reminder, so it's not coming off as too goofy, and like, you know how people can be when it's something is like a little too much, they try to build the antithesis. So it's just a gentle reminder.
Stop
Please.
drinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not about it. We're not trying to police people on how they should experience the event, but it's like just a gentle reminder. It's like, hey, we're happy you're here, you're having a good time, but please take care of yourself and everyone around you.
There's a little bit of a back and forth from someone who's on the America side and for someone who has been to college. There's many different examples of, you know, getting from a specific age. I'm not going to go ahead and say my age, but I am a little bit older. I'm a little bit more experienced when it comes to all this sort of stuff. But like, you have the people that do come in, and we are going to be kind of transitioning into the whole age verification thing. Best you wait. Is the fact that you do have some 18 plus people that are coming in here looking for those types of venues that they can, you know, experience that avenue and direction of, oh, I'm an adult, I could start doing this with some adult people and enjoy having ragers and drinking a lot and getting a little sauced and stuff like that. But I also know and recognize that there is a different type of example when you're in college or university, when you have a safety net influence, you know, like, let's just say you're not driving, but you're in a dorm room with some people and you get to experiment a little bit and know your limits. I'll also say for Americans, it's when you first try espresso for the first time. You have coffee and then you have espresso. People don't get into espresso right away because it's too harsh. It's too bitter for them. So they just go with the coffee thing. But there are a lot of people in this simulation that they genuinely haven't been to college, or they don't have the means to be nearby friends to help, you know, alleviate those those limitations when it comes to alcohol and ingesting or drugs or whatever. And you do have people that want to experience what it's like at a rave venue, but you also have those people that are too young that think drinking a lot is the rave venue, and like, no, that's not it. That's not a thing. I'll also say too that at Liquidity, I did find that there were a lot of wine drinkers in Europe, and that's something that I'm not used to. That people would rather come home and have some wine instead of a beer or shots or whatever. But they also they have their own values and how to understand that. Now, kind of circling back around to what we've heard from the VRChat community and the VRChat dev team about age verification leading forward. Obviously, a very, very hot topic. It's breaking news as of yesterday that this is going to be implemented. I think a lot of people are they're really excited for it. We've been talking a lot about it in the backgrounds for many, many months, and people are excited for that, so that way they can focus a lot of their energies on an adult crowd as opposed to some kids coming in. But also too, people they're very vocal about being, having hesitant sharing information, or even the fact of like, we're going to now kind of limit your experience to just an 18 plus, whatever that case may be, whether it has some sort of alcohol or drug use, or the fact that you do have some of those raunchier avatars, like having events where you can go to those types of events. Now, I know, again, a very hot topic to talk about, but I think more for us on VRCDJLIVE, as well as for your group as well, I think the thing that we need to kind of discuss is the timeline based on when that will be available to the people that actively get into it, compared to how many events, how many ratioed events are going to be 18 plus compared to a public instance. So I kind of want your take on that, as far as where do we see venues going in the future? Are we going to be starting to see a lot more just 18 plus venues, or do you think at some point in time that we can have some sort of an equal amount of public venues compared to 18 plus?
You want to go on this side, or should I?
I can go on this. I've thought about this a little bit. So, in my opinion, first up, the main thing that people need to keep in mind is that all of the verification stuff is completely optional. It's not like a mandatory thing. You can decide to use it. You can decide not to use it. That being said, I think, like you mentioned, there's going to be a pretty large chunk of events that are going to be purely 18 plus moving forward, like the second they have it available. And I think that's okay. Like, there's just spaces that they don't want to have children in. And I think that's perfectly fine for whatever reason it may be. Like, if it's just like there's a lot of people that consume alcohol, or people that make like adult jokes, things like that. Not wanting to have kids around when you do those things, and being able to ensure that that's like the case, is a nice option for those people to have. That being said, I think there's a lot of venues that will not use the feature. I think there's a lot of places that will just allow people to come in, and I think those are kind of going to be a gateway into the maybe verified instances as well. So when new people come in, they'll experience one of those kind of events that's just openly accessible, and then they might run into one or two people that tell them, hey, yeah, there's something similar going on next week, but you need to be verified because it's like hosted by these people instead. And then they'll think about it and things like that, and they'll have the option to go, but they don't have to. And that's the important thing. Like, once again, it's not mandatory. And I think there'll be a good balance of both. I think there'll be a good balance of people that will just like to host events. Like, for example, our stuff is 16 plus. We're not hosting like 18 plus or anything right now with our rules, and we want to keep it like that for the time being. We'll see how well it works. We'll see how the other 18 plus venues run, and if we feel like that's the better way forward, then we might do it. But for now, we're trying to keep it open and accessible. And I think there's a lot of places that want to be like that because they want to bring music to the masses and want to have everybody be able to enjoy those events. So yeah, in my opinion, good balance. The one thing may be like a gateway into the other thing, like as a thing, kind of bring people into the kind of scene and so on.
It's going to be a little bit of an awkward transition, and just to be point blank about it, I think we're all kind of thinking it too, just because of the fact that there are some more aggressive clubs and communities, clubs and groups in our community that are really, really 18 plus, and they like to keep it that way. But I'll also say too, from someone that has had a little bit more life experience, that it does suck to be 17. That's an obvious. Like that's like you can't not say that. And yes, if you're 16 or 17, where you do feel like you've had plenty of life experience, there are rules in place for a reason. And I also say that there's some influence too that's kind of difficult for an ever-changing mind. And putting these in place is kind of harsh for people that have genuinely have come in here and say, "Oh, I get to experience it this way, and I've had to experience this way for a long time." But being able to cater to that when you are becoming of age of 18. Not saying that it's wrong that you're 16 or 17. I mean, obviously you're going to grow into it, but at the same time, there's a very, very, very small market of 16 and 17-year-olds actively trying to make a club experience their career. When they're still in school, they're still trying to figure out that sort of stuff. But I think what we really need to try to realize when it comes to this type of verification, and someone actually asked a little while ago, how would age verification impact VR events? I think that's just going to be it, is that sometimes I think some of these groups are genuinely just going to say, we're going to cut it at 18 plus. And unfortunately for the people that don't get into what it takes to go through that persona software or whatever it uses, and not having the financial influence to do that, to verify yourself, might be at a loss. But you also can't not think that that transition is still going to be kind of rocky, because I would say maybe about 52% of the clubs in here will just go straight up 18 plus regardless, compared to the actual public instance with a lot of things.
Yeah, I think there will be, like, especially as there's this transition period where people are figuring out if the 18 plus thing works for them or not, is going to be a little rocky, because they're going to have to adjust how they run events. But like you said, I think there will be a good chunk that will immediately just go 18 plus and not look back. But there will be plenty of other places that people can still go to experience their first kind of events.
I was going to ask you, what do you think the common club etiquette would be ramping up to the 18 plus event?
That's a good question. I think, like, a lot of the rules just wouldn't change for a lot of places. Like, a lot of places would run the same. They just don't want to have kids around. Like, they want to create adult-only spaces where people can comfortably talk about adult topics, make adult jokes, consume alcohol, those kind of things that they already do in other places right now. It's just going to be a lot more comfortable for people. Like, for example, it's the same with IRL events, right? There's events that are 18 plus, there's events that let younger people access and stuff like that. And sometimes it's just nice to not have kids around, like, full stop. And I think that's, like, the main reason that clubs will do it. There will obviously be a bunch of clubs that will do other things, but I don't think that will be a majority in any way. Like, I don't think the rules will greatly adjust, or, like, the etiquette will change much.
I know another very fun topic and very fun thing to kind of bring light to is anything that is family friendly doesn't have to be baby. It doesn't have to be toddler. It doesn't have to be some Bozo the Clown. It doesn't have to be, like, not fun. We could still have a good time. We could still play the hard music, just not have those adult style themes that because I don't know about you, but after a certain amount of time, I don't want to drink a cocktail. I want to drink a mocktail. I want to drink, like, some juice or like
just take a sip of water.
Yeah, like, actually have water for a change. Go and touch the grass for a change. So we have to kind of eyeball this as of, you're not missing too much outside of the 18 plus, besides, potential a much harder style of hardstyle, I guess. I had your mouth open for a minute there. You catching flies or something?
No, I just like to stare at Marco like that to confuse him.
A little back and forth there.
No, I like to, I kind of not me, you just hit ouch.
Karma right there. That's karma.
Yeah, that's karma. Do not hit bunnies. That's animal abuse now.
Yeah,
I totally agree. I mean, in the end, it's an equation. Some places will probably go 18 plus, because in the end, it's also an extra hosting and security effort if you're keeping it 16 plus. And we do have the resources, and we talked about it a bunch. And I mean, going to, like, a music event, hearing music, seeing the cool work that's done and the performances, inherently isn't something that has to be 18 plus, or most of the time isn't even by itself. It's more the moderation effort around it and the community you foster. And we believe that we can make it work with 16 plus. That being said, I totally get it if some venues take a more easy approach, because it is effort making sure that you create the safe space. And if you're saying, hey, look, we've got this option now, I'm pretty sure there will be, well, for sure there will be venues that do the more spicy stuff. They will almost definitely go for the HID lobbies. And then there will be some events that don't necessarily by themselves need that, but then it's an organizational choice, and I respect that. But there will also be people that decide not to HID for some reasons, and I guess for those, the other places still have to be open. It's going to be a nuanced issue as per usual, but we'll try ourselves to go like that for now.
I kind of feel like we need to offer a challenge when we do get the age verification, and I would love to challenge some of the groups to be like, can you hold events that aren't always strictly 18 plus? You know, like, I think the verification is really good, and I think it works out when you do have some, you know, more adult themed things. But I challenge the clubs. You know, I challenge them to say, can you put on not really a public, but like, you know, for your community, but for all of your community, that's not just strictly 18 plus. And I feel like that challenge is going to be a tricky one to see which groups are actually going to heed that call to be able to put that all together. We're live here on VRCDJLIVE with Subsystem. We got a couple more minutes here, and we were kind of talking a little bit about Thanksgiving, and I know you guys were like reading it, being like, I don't know a damn thing about Thanksgiving, but that's the best part of it, is trying to get an understanding of what it is. I want to know what you guys believe Thanksgiving is here in America.
I think you're giving thanks.
Food. Yeah. You're welcome giving. Or,
I know it's a time to be. I know it's a time to be thankful. Like you tell people around you, "Oh, I'm thankful for you doing X, Y, and Z," or "I'm thankful for you being in my life." Things like that. I know that much. There's obviously historical context to it. That's not so great, but that's about all I know about Thanksgiving.
And that's it.
Thanks, Rob.
Oh, you're welcome. See, there you go.
No.
See, now I give thanks back.
Yeah.
Except
Thanks,
now
Rob,
I have to
having
give
us.
you food. Like, then you say thanks for the food, or do you give me food?
Yeah.
Thank you for
Well,
having
thank
us.
you,
I'll
John.
take
Yeah,
it.
what are you
That's
thanking me
very
for?
thank you.
I mean, see, there's a thing. You can't just be like, thanks, Rob, and that's it. You gotta be
Yo,
like, so,
thank you, Rob, for having us. I'll take the turkey now.
what do you mean I have to give you a turkey? I didn't even promise. There's
You
no
have to give
contract
me-
of turkey.
You have
Nah.
to give me the turkey now.
Okay.
That's how Thanksgiving works.
Yeah, you're in the
You
you're in the
signed the
stuffing with
turkey
Rob Roman's
contract.
voice, right? Is that what you want me to say?
You're in the stuffing with Rob Roman's voice.
Rob, thank you for all the memories that you've created.
I'm so glad that that's been going on for 5 years. Can you but even more so, like, especially for people that are headed to Thanksgiving right now, what would be the top 5 things that you guys would put on your Thanksgiving table if you had one?
This is a
Do
hard
we-
one because we
anyone
don't do
have a
American
table?
food.
Yeah, but it doesn't
like-
even have to be
no.
American food. Like, you could, there's supposed to be comfort food, so you have to pick up 5 things to put on your
okay,
table.
like the
Yeah.
Honestly, I
the-
don't have a table. I don't even have a chair.
That's so real. I literally live in a studio.
So
apartment
Marco would
where I
be
do all of my
thankful if
VRCDJ
anybody gave him a
stuff.
chair. Yeah.
Like,
it's like that one YouTube show, The Last Meals, where they bring on all their favorite foods and they have an interview. What would be? I don't even know what my top 5 would be. I think I'd have sushi on there for sure, because who doesn't love good sushi?
oh,
Same thing with a really good pizza. Like, we have a bunch of Italian restaurants here. Oh my god, put that stuff on my table, I'll devour that immediately. But other than that, it's like, I don't know. There's so much good stuff. My mom's
Doner
lasagna.
kebab.
Oh my god, my mom's lasagna. That gotta be on the table. If we're talking top 5 foods, holy.
no, I'll take doner kebab. That is one of my absolute favorites.
True. As a
Doner kebab
German,
will fix me.
as a German, that is true. You have to have a. Nothing fixes you like a kebab at 3 a.m. after a night out. Holy, that thing breathes life back into you.
That's what I'm saying. See, for Americans, we'll just go and eat all the turkey and all the sides, and we turn on the football. to watch football, but we don't watch football. We just fall asleep on the couch.
That's a classic. A little bit of background noise.
But honestly, that's what everyone does when you eat sushi anyway, too. Like, you get over full of sushi and you just go pass out. Like, let's be real.
That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Honestly, just get a comically large amount of cheese. That would fix me.
There you go.
You just got a whole, like a charcuterie plate, except it's just cheese.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with, like, you could be thankful for cheese. Now, before we get going here, I want... Oh, yes? Oh, beep boop.
Yeah, honestly, that would fix me.
Is that me? Is that... You guys still hear me?
Not even say your thing. Is that me?
Oh, what?
This is like,
What moment?
Oh, that is me. Sorry, some technical difficulties. We're going through like a surge storm here. You guys are sounding like robots, but we are getting close to the end of the show. And I know you guys could probably barely hear me. If we do have to switch voice calls, almost.
we're back.
We're back a little bit.
Okay, so hear me out. I just switched the region, the server region to
I was
Rotterdam.
looking
and
for
it seems to be better.
Oh yeah,
There we go. We're good.
yeah. I got green bars here.
I
So
fixed it.
Oh,
I fixed
Mer-
it. I
Merlz
caught that joke. Bear with us. Yeah, haha. You're really funny,
thank
Rob.
you for fixing my region on Thanksgiving.
Now you owe him a turkey.
Now I gotta send Merlz.
Yes.
Merlz gets turkey.
I'm
Hallelujah.
getting turkey.
So before we head on out of here, I have one big old question, and then we'll kind of wrap up things. And this is going to be a little spicy, but I always really love to know, between the three of you, who are your top 3 favorite VRChat DJs that we have to look forward to?
Oh lord.
Oh lord.
Number 1, Merlz. That guy kills it every time he plays. Love that guy.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
You know, yeah, I can agree with that one.
Second
I
for
can
me gotta
definitely
be
agree.
10xx. I fucking love when that man slams out D&B. It always a banger set every single time. He never misses. And then third one is hard. Happy Thoughts. I'm gonna go with Happy Thoughts. He's a good friend of mine. He's like not the most known in the DJ scene, I'd say, but every time he does play, he plays absolute bangers. Love Happy Thoughts. Shout out Happy.
Oh, me next. I'm having trouble picking because I love me variety, so I can barely put them on here. Let me do a couple homie shout outs, right? Just fuck. 20 was an early inspiration of mine. Like it's funny because I already started DJing, and then he just like he was a friend of a friend, and we talked every once in a while, and he's like a super nice guy and all that stuff. And then at some point, I joined the lobby, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm about to DJ Merlz." I'm like, "Oh hell yeah, I didn't know you did that. Okay, let me hear it." And then this guy slapped out the most in like beautiful vibey breakbeat and club music set that I ever heard. And ever since, I've been bothering him to play at my venues. Shout out 20, Medlish. I know him personal. I know how he works, but like he's super duper up there. And I just absolutely. I love how we operate on a similar level and how he also appreciates variety. And his DJ skills are pretty far up there. And in a way, we got to know each other also a bit earlier in my rave journey, and we just got along. And in a way, he's been a mentor, and I can't thank him enough for that. He's probably up there too. And next to that, I'm honestly having big troubles. Literally everyone. I'm sorry if I forget anybody. I appreciate all of you so much. Oh my god. But that's the best answer I can give you.
Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna have to. Well, first off, I'm gonna have to agree with Sai on that one with Merlz.
True.
But then, I usually take a look at the old VODs for like basically any subsystem event, and I gotta say, I would say maybe Proper and Pepsin.
for sure. Also,
On the
really
Japanese
good, yeah.
side, it was a really good set.
But Tasia was really good too.
Okay, never mind. You know, I changed my mind. But yeah,
I see
Actually,
a bunch of
flow
really
forward.
good DJs in our chat already. I see Kex, I see Rose, I see Proper. Those are absolutely killing it. There's too many. I'm sorry, there's too many.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm getting everybody on here to kind of just like be like shout out to this guy, and then they come on and they're like, oh, we're gonna shout him back, and I'm like, no, don't do that. You got to talk about other people. Like we want everybody on here too. But
Jeez,
yeah, no
so
doubt.
many.
Before we get going here, how can all of our people in chat be able to reach out to you guys on socials? Where can we find you guys?
You can find us at Subsystem.live. That's our website. That one will, I'll be real with you. That one needs a bit of an overhaul. But you find a definite listing, a definitive listing of our socials on vrc.to/subsystem. And you can find us on a bunch of socials. We try not to have too many because they need to be maintained. But we've got Instagram mostly for pictures and stuff from our events. And most specifically Discord. That is probably the definitive place to be. And on top of that, the bird-like socials. We've got X and we've got Blue Sky. I kind of low-key prefer Blue Sky, but right now there's not much of a difference on how we operate those two. So you can follow us on both of those. And other than that, on VRChat, you can join our VRChat group. That's probably the easiest way to get connected with our events. Just look up Subsystem in the events tab. You'll get notifications once events come up. Basically, as soon as the instance opens, which is 15 minutes prior to the first DJ pressing play. And by then you'll see the events in your group instances tab in VRChat, and you'll be able to join as soon as they open up.
Well, guys, it was a real honor and a pleasure to have you guys on here. And those 2 hours just kind of flew on by. I wish at some point in time that we should get you back on VRCDJLIVE sometime.
Thank you for having us. I think all of us would be down to be here for another time.
Absolutely.
A whole nother year of Subsystem, probably, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, we had so hard on this one. Like, I don't think we went through half the stuff that we could have gone through.
Honestly, though, that's why I wanted to get you guys back on here. So, but thank you guys.
Subby day.
Have a subby day. That's the best way to.
Get this guy out
I might as well finish the program.
Don't let him cook.
But guys, thank you so much for coming by to VRC DJ Live and hanging out with Subsystem. And of course, for those people that have watched or you came in a little late, we are going to be rebroadcasting our replays up on YouTube as well as a few highlights at VRC DJ Live on YouTube. And of course, got a big old lineup for you for December so far. And coming up on our next show next Thursday, actually it's going to be 1 a.m. on Friday morning because we usually do things on Thursdays. We're going to be joined by Naku, and Naku's going to be coming in to talk more about the upcoming Nurtured Festival that he's got going on. And we have the entire poster for you up on Twitter and on Blue Sky. So for Merlz and Marco and Sai and all of the VRC DJ Live team, thank you all so much for coming by, and we'll see you next time. Happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you next time.